Hello my friends and welcome. Let's zoom into the new success of the Ukrainian army. This time it happened on the south part, near to Vuhledar. Remember how Russia tried to get this small town under their control unsuccessfully? They lost many troops, so now Ukraine started the counteroffensive operation in that area. I want to tell you that it's not the major one that we are all waiting, but it could be the part of the preparation for the big counteroffensive. The Ukrainian army uses the small amount of the troops in many of the areas of the front lines, trying to understand where it's the weakest spot for the Russians. And it was yesterday, it is today. The closest village to that area is Volodymyrka, and really it's not that far away, but Russians already built some of the defense lines, so for us it would be hard to go to the south over here, but with enough forces obviously it is possible. But still, I think that we're not gonna go to Mariupol from this direction. I think we're gonna start the counteroffensive from Orikhiv, because it's more profitable for us. If we reach Melitopol, that's how we may cut a Russian army in two. I said about it many times. If we move from this area with the recent Ukrainian success, we will go to Avdiivka, and there we have some of the few just minor changes on the south part of this city, or it's better to say town. As for the Bakhmut city and the nearby area, everything is standstill. This is just the front line correction, not significant movement of either of the sides, and today it was confirmed by Ukrainian officials and also other international officials on the international meeting in Moldova that Russia stopped the offensive in the Bakhmut city. They've took it under control and now going to total defense. And we have some interesting news from Shebekino. It's the Russian Federation, Belgorod Oblast, and there were lots of the explosions today, and there was also the fighting from the Russian volunteer opposition battalion. From what I understood, they want to get Shebekino under their control and keep it for a long time, unlike they did before. So the Russian volunteer army published some of the videos with their armored vehicles. One more video of them. It's hard to say where it was filmed, but now I'm gonna show you the Shebekino area. It's been confirmed by the drone footages that Russia lost few of the vehicles in the area close to Shebekino, including the big Kamaz truck full of ammunition. Plus there was the military column of Russian forces that went under the fire from the Ukrainian side. Also, the big plant in Shebekino Monocrystal was targeted probably by the drone. And we see that some of the buildings are on fire. This is not the residential building, this is the government building. You can see from these flags from alley that it's the central part of that city, or it's better to say town. The Russian Volunteer Brigade published the video showing that they have also helicopters, but it's the old video dated from 2 weeks ago. Then Russians went into the Russian Federation to free it from the Putin's regime. It was a loud bang just on the street of Belgorod today, the Russian Federation, and as some media reported, probably it's one more accident from the Russian aviation. They accidentally dropped the bomb again on the street. And Russia started to send more reinforcements to Shebekino. They continue to send even armored vehicles and tanks. But the problem here is that a couple of the tanks will not change the situation for Russia. The Russian Volunteer Brigade say that they will hire many more men into their army, and their main goal is to reach Moscow. And I'm sure that it's the positive scenario for the future Ukrainian counteroffensive that may happen very soon. Just imagine, many men, like thousands of the troops, are entering the Russian Federation. Russia needs to do something with it, and that is why they will take the forces from the Ukrainian front line, or they will leave them over there, but in that case the Russian Freedom Legion or the Russian Volunteer Brigade finally will reach Moscow. Officially, Ukraine doesn't help the Russian volunteers to fight against the Putin's regime, but we know that they support those volunteers with armored vehicles and many other weaponry. Russia drew many of their red lines before. The red line was not to attack Crimea, Kerch Bridge, Moscow, Kremlin, and this time it will be the full-scale assault on Russia. And in parallel, Ukraine will start its offensive on the south part of Ukraine. I think that is what we're gonna see in a nearby future. It is just the beginning right now. And Russia started the evacuation from Shebekina. Lots of the people, buses are leaving the place. And I think it's the good way out because civilians need to be safe. Very interesting video. I will publish the full version on my Telegram channel. Here I'll just skip to show you the screenshot. So this is the cockpit and the mirror of the Panzer S Russian air defense system, which is very expensive. And let me show you what happened to it. Jaga Jaga. The FPV drone targeted the system and it got some of the damages. So the driver started to run away. He called to his colleagues that he was shot because of the drone. He coordinated the backfire, but few moments later he got the second Jaga Jaga. Boom. So it's hard to eliminate this track fully using the FPV drones, but at least it got damages. And it also shows that they are very close to the front lines. The FPV drone depends on the transmitter, and receiver may cover up to, let's say, 15 kilometers freely. What can we say about the people who live in Shebekina, or who used to live because they were mostly evacuated? Here's the question: whether you support the special military operation in Ukraine. Yes, no. So 72% of the Shebekina citizens supported the special military operation of Russians in Ukraine. This question was asked 1 year ago on 22nd April 2022. Yeah, a little bit more than 1 year ago. I think now we may ask the similar question from Ukrainians, whether you support the special military operation in Shebekina. There were some reports, mostly from the Russian media resources, that Ukraine may start a counterattack on Transnistria Republic. This republic is unrecognized and lies between Ukraine and Moldova. It's the landlocked territory. It has the pro-Russian government, and I think it's just a matter of time then Moldova will take this territory back, because Russia is unable to send backup to that place. So in case of the escalation or some sort of the conflict, without the supply lines, this territory would be easily taken, for example, by Ukrainian forces or combined forces from Moldova and Ukraine. I think it should be done, because Transnistria also destabilizes Ukraine. We are forced to send some reinforcements of the border. I think Ukraine does more firm actions right now also on the Russian territory by supporting the Russian opposition volunteer corps or volunteer brigade, because Russia is out of the tools to escalate or to respond. Yes, they have Kinjal rockets, they have Iskander ballistic missiles, they have cruise missiles, but they use them constantly. And speaking about the non-nuclear weaponry, that's it. They don't have anything more. They don't have the stealth bombers like B-2 in the United States, so their bombers will be recognized and shot down in the skies by the Patriot systems and many others. So they are unable to use their aviation in Ukrainian airspace. That's why they continue to launch the cruise missiles thousands of kilometers away from the Ukrainian territory. As for the nukes, I don't think that Russia will use them in Ukraine. They were bluffing lots of the times before with every cross of their drawn red lines. Russia crossed the red line themselves, then they attacked Ukraine. Luckily, we have the military support from our allies, and the rhetorics of NATO and the elite of the Western countries changed in favor of the victory of Ukraine. Mostly there are no more talks about whether Ukraine survive or not. Ukraine will survive, and now we just need to make our victory closer and closer with every weaponry support. And Poland says that there are some of the countries that are willing to support Ukraine with the Patriot systems. It's awesome. This is the dashcam video. You can see some of the armored men are crossing the road while running. It's kind of interesting because it's quite far away from the Ukrainian border, and who were those soldiers? I don't know whether the Russian soldiers have that camouflage and that kind of the equipment. Alright, we have the new conflict between the Russian military groups, this time between Ahmad, Kadyrovites and the Wagner forces. At first I saw Chechen pro-Russian generals and other Kadyrov's friends who rule in their small part of Russia. They were saying actually bad words towards Prigozhin, and they say that in a Second World War or Great Patriotic War, Prigozhin would have a death penalty for his words. So what did Prigozhin say? He has some doubts about the effectiveness of the Ahmad forces. We call them the TikTok warriors. So Kadyrovites got the butt burned. They start to record the video accusing Prigozhin and calling him to meet with them. Tell us the place and the time and we'll be waiting for you, they say. And Wagner responded to that. Not Prigozhin did it, but their chief Utkin, from what I understood. In this message, Wagner say that the Third World War has begun and they will speak truth about the current situation on the front lines. Still, there are no any panic moods in Wagner. Every problems Wagner solve according to the constitution and laws of Russia. Yes, especially with this armor. They also quite angry that there was no respect in the words of Chechen commanders towards Prigozhin. They also say that Wagner is #1 private military army in the world. Probably it's like that because they even have the airplanes, tanks and basically everything, including artillery systems. So it's really the army. Usually private military armies have just infantry and armored vehicles. And this is very interesting at the bottom. Speaking about the meeting as man with man, we are always ready. Moreover, we know each other from the First and Second Chechen War. The creator of the Wagner forces was fighting against Chechens in the First and Second Chechen War, so he knows the current military command of Chechnya that are now pro-Russian. Before, they were fighting against each other and Kadyrov himself was fighting against the Russian troops, and now he's the pro-Russian supporter. But I guess everything might change in a matter of days and they may again start the fight between each other. Now they fight in social media, but soon it may erupt into the bigger conflict. To sad news, the last night Kyiv was under the rocket attack. We shut down many of the missiles, but the debris hit the hospital. There were some of the kids with the families. It was reported that there were some of the casualties. The sad thing that people wanted to go to the shelter, but the shelter was closed and the guy who was responsible for it was unable to open it. Hopefully we'll have more air defense systems that will allow to shut down the rockets not over the Kyiv city but on their way to Kyiv and other big cities of Ukraine. My friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on situation in Ukraine. Now please press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my job, there are some links in the video description just below. You may support me on Patreon or on the sponsorship on this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your awesome help and your awesome support. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.